8 years ago, Republicans ran with straight faces as the party of national defense and fiscal prudence. 8 years later, we have al-Qaeda in Iraq, al-Qaeda in Pakistan, but we will not have the World Trade Center, nor thousands of Americans lost there and in Iraq ever again. We do, however, have a national debt exceeding $9 trillion, almost double what it was the day before President Bush's inauguration. In our third story tonight, the GOP's disputed frontrunner, Rudy Giuliani, unveiled his master plan for the economy on Wednesday, 1 week, we learned today, after his master plan for his own campaign's economy created a situation whereby he could no longer pay a dozen of his top staffers. In the last 3 months of 2007, the man who says his tax cut, the biggest in human history, would increase tax revenues, actually spent almost $5 million more than he took in, apparently seeking to prove his fitness to pick up where Mr. Bush leaves off in spending beyond our means. With just $7 million on hand to buy TV ads in some of the nation's most expensive media markets, starting with Florida, Giuliani has also pulled most of his paid staffers out of Michigan and South Carolina, making Florida even more central to his strategy. No one apparently having told Senator John McCain, who took the lead in the most recent Florida poll, 27-19 over Giuliani, with Willard Mitt Romney and Mike Huckabee right at his heels with 17 each. And the Keith number here is 9.5. What, you ask, is the Keith number? This is the margin of error plus the percentage of undecided. In this case, 4.5-point margin of error plus 5% undecided. I thought of it, so I named it after myself. You think of a better caveat for polls from now on, and we'll name it after you. Back to the Republicans. Giuliani yesterday went after Florida's soft spot, hurricanes, forming the aptly named Catastrophe Advisory Committee, packing it with Floridians, but possibly not reassuring the state with his choice of its chairman, Mr. Bush's first FEMA director, Joe Albaugh, the man who oversaw the downgrading of FEMA and the upgrading of heck of a job Brownie. Sleep easy, Florida. Joining me now, Washington Post national political reporter Dana Milbank, my co-star in Mr. Giuliani's Don't Forget Me, Florida TV ad, and also author of Homo Politicus, The Strange and Scary Tribes That Run Our Government. Dana, great thanks for your time.
Good to see you, Keith.
3 words, softball straight line for you. Catastrophe Advisory Committee. Go.
Well, I think now that you and I have cut this pro bono ad for Rudy, that we should, in fact, be appointed to this Catastrophe Advisory Committee. And I would say, for one, I would, if seeking to maximize catastrophe, I would essentially advise Rudy to do exactly what he's been doing. You had the sex scandal, had that situation with the dodgy sheikh who likes the terrorists. Mm-hmm. He skipped Iowa and New Hampshire. Now he's got the cash crisis, just as it's getting very expensive, and he's stopped paying his staffers. So I think he's right on course there. That would be my advice.
Well, you mentioned doing this ad pro bono. Apparently, everybody who works for him does everything pro bono at this point. How is
we were just early in on it.
Yeah, but if your strategy is to wait to try to win in Florida, how do you run out of money before you get to Florida?
It is a bit of a problem there, but I guess in Rudy's defense, or standing on his side of things here, when you're competing in states like California, New York, New Jersey, Illinois, it's going to cost way too much for anybody in this race. So they might as well all be broke, because nobody's going to have enough money to saturate this market. So I guess that's the best way of looking at it for him.
With the years of the tax cuts now yielding fear of recession, just sort of generally across the land, is there any impression at this point that voters are starting to get skeptical of plans like Mr. Giuliani's multi-trillion-dollar proposal with tax cuts?
Well, voters are always saying they want tax cuts, and certainly the current president wanted tax cuts in good seasons and in bad. The interesting thing is even the president has stopped talking about tax cuts. Pretty much everybody has, except for Rudy, so it gives him sort of a retro feel to his candidacy right now, and all the talk of Reagan as well. I suspect next week he may come out with some plan to reduce nuclear stockpiles and some sort of a deal with the Soviet Union.
Isn't that Fred Thompson's area of expertise, the Soviet Union? In fairness to Giuliani, though, McCain's staffers went months without pay. I mean, he was carrying his own carry-on luggage at several points there. Thompson cut his staff salaries this week. Romney had to drop his ads in South Carolina, in Florida. Everybody except the guy that they call fiscally irresponsible, Mike Huckabee, seems to have trouble handling money. How does this party plausibly sell itself as capable of saving us from a fiscal mess, which there's not very many ways around this, it created?
Well, and Huckabee's only doing okay on the money because he had no staffers in the first place. But, it's very interesting. And if you look at Mitt Romney, here is actually a very successful businessman who actually is good with money in contrast to the current president, who also had a Harvard MBA, but not necessarily a successful businessman. Yet even he is unable to be an effective political figure. And it may suggest that those who are, in fact, the best at managing money are not, in fact, the most likable candidates, and which would raise the possibility that we'll never actually get a president who is, in fact, capable of being fiscally responsible.
There you go. Dana Milbank of MSNBC, The Washington Post, and a Rudy Giuliani ad coming to a television near you. Thanks. Have a good weekend, Dana.
Thanks, Keith.